Hello and welcome back to another I don't know what webcast of the master plan. I'm your host, Michael Filipkowski in the flesh. This is Connor with I think he's above me actually. So that right there is Connor.
Yep.
Um Today we're doing as we always do. We're kind of doing Connor and I. We make one bracket together. It usually does last year I think it did okay. Um but this year I know Connor and I are gonna pick the bracket that's gonna be perfect. So I
We
think
did pretty good
that's
last year, huh?
yeah. And this year's bracket, I promise you, it's gonna be perfect. All right, we're gonna have the first one ever, and the master plan is gonna, be big because of this YouTube video. 20 trillion views, promise you. Let's jump right into it. We're starting off with the Midwest, and let's start off with the
Starting off with the
116 game.
South.
South, excuse me. Sorry. Starting from the South, Alabama versus the winner of the playing game of the 16 seed. Listen, folks. Connor, I hope you're with me on this. We're going to take Alabama in this one.
Okay, Maryland, West Virginia. Hey,
So
hey, wasn't that long ago we saw a 16 upset, right? But
that's true, but Bama's a good team,
this ain't
and
no Virginia.
yeah. Maryland, West Virginia. I like West Virginia in this matchup. I think they played a little bit of a better schedule. The money line is actually on them, so they're minus money to win this. I feel like this is one of those classic 8-9 games where the 9 seed is gonna win. A lot of people are gonna pick Maryland to win it. I like West Virginia. I think they're a solid team. I know they didn't have a great regular season. They were 7-11 in conference, but I like West Virginia in this one. Connor, are you in agreement, or do you are you thinking Maryland?
It's interesting because yeah, Maryland's quad one record is poor. Their Ken Palm rating isn't great, um, and really their efficiencies aren't great. It's just a not team. Jameer Young's had a great season, but I kind of lean this Eric Stevenson, Trey Mitchell led West Virginia.
Yeah.
They've had like Eric Stevenson's been on all teams that have made the tournament. Wichita State in the tournament. Um, a lot of these guys have kind of transferred to West Virginia. Good success. I really think, like West Virginia. I think
Mhm.
Mountaineers offense will kind of just dominate this pretty points, and I don't
Yeah, and
up.
yeah, and again, I think that West Virginia is the better team. All right, let's move on. San Diego State, Charleston. This is a tough one because it's not that I dislike Charleston, but and kind
Yeah,
of we were talking
Michael,
about
you
this.
said you had San Diego State going far, right?
Well, I think that they can go pretty far. I think that I could see very well see San Diego State as your Elite Eight team in the South. I think that they could take down Alabama. I feel like they're a good tournament team. Last year, I feel like they had a pretty good run. Um, it's a 5-12 game, but I Charleston has
Th-
not been in the dance in a long time. Um,
This is the thing I'm looking at. The San Diego State is a very good paint. That's one of their strong suits.
mhm,
They have a poor offense, but they lock down the paint. And a lot of teams that played, a lot of teams at this level in college are not 3-point shooting teams.
mhm,
Um, then, and this could very well be a dark horse. If they get past it, I mean, they could make a run at Alabama, who's not that big a shooting team. A lot of
right.
drives, a lot of
And it almost feels like
that.
this time around, there's not a lot of like a lot of teams feel pretty even in terms of talent wise.
But go look at how College of Charleston plays. Um, they're 20 in the country on offensive and defensive ranking, and they
Okay.
let the three ball fly. They just pound it out from. Um, they make 10th and made um, country ranked 10th. Um, there's just a lot of
So are you? But I mean, I don't know.
in a
For me,
lot
it's
of
like
my brackets. I'm taking college Charleston. I just think, yes, San Diego State. I have a bracket with San Diego State makes the Sweet
I think
16.
it's one of those things where if you're
Um,
going to take San Diego State to win this, they're probably going to go. They're probably
Another
going to win at
round.
least one more.
Yeah, and
Right.
San Diego State has a good matchup. I just think they got a really tough pull here getting
It's going to be a
Charleston.
tough one.
Just let the three ball fly.
If Charleston's on their game, so we'll take Charleston in this one. But
Sure,
if you're going to
I'm down to go San Diego because you said you're pretty high
I
on San
am
Diego
pretty
State,
high on them. I feel like
and I'm
this.
willing to go
I feel
San
like
Diego
this is gonna be
State
a
in this
tough game,
bracket.
but I feel like next round we'll get to this, Furman Virginia game. But I feel like San Diego State.
We can go San Diego. I'm just telling my
All
piece on Charleston why I would not write this off as San Diego State running away with it.
right.
In a
All
lot
right.
of my brackets, I take
I'll
Charleston,
use I'll use one
but
of
I'll
my
go San
kind of
Diego State.
I'll use one of kind of my like, hey, we're gonna push this one through.
Because I
A
would
little,
agree with you that I think
right.
San Diego State's going to beat the winner of Virginia Furman. I just think there's a
Yeah,
poor matchup.
and let's talk about that game, Virginia versus Furman. I think we're both kind of in line on this one. I really want to go Furman on this one.
Furman's a fun basketball team. It, really, in recent times, the SoCon division has been a lot of fun. This is a 43 tournament drought for the Paladins. They have a very fun offense.
And Virginia's offense, by the way, is not very good. Average under 70 points a game. I really hate the ACC. I think it's a pretty weak conference, especially this year.
Virginia can't score the ball.
Yeah.
Their offense is poor.
And you look at March Madness, that's such a part of March Madness. I feel like defense kind of goes a little bit towards the wayside.
It's one of those games where if Furman shoot it well, you're looking at an early exit for Virginia. But Virginia has also been a team that has shown great success in having win streaks. They've had a couple 7-game win streaks during the season and a couple of droughts. As of the tournament, they didn't look great versus Duke. They only scored 9 that matchup, but they did beat Clemson and looked pretty damn good against Clemson. They did beat UNC and looked pretty damn good against UNC.
Right. All right. What do you want to do?
I mean, I'm down to go the upset. We're having fun.
I'm kind of leaning
Virginia.
Furman,
they've choked in tournament.
And this just feels like a weak Virginia team. It doesn't.
It's definitely a weak Virginia team. And this is one that they could hold on offense and then just bow out of this tournament.
All right, let's go Paladins then.
40 points against a 13 seed.
Let's go Paladins. I'm comfortable with that line. Let's go Furman. All right. This is another one that I've hit pretty much in most of my brackets. I really like NC State over Creighton. I think that's
Creighton's Creighton is both these teams suck against quad 1 schools, by the way. Creighton is a team that has had success in the tourney.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the top 25 poll right now. But after a really strong start to the regular season, they kind of faltered. But they did beat Xavier and Marquette down the stretch. They beat Villanova in the tournament and then got killed by Xavier. They have a top 20. They're 13th in Ken Palm. That's pretty good for 6th seed. They have a couple good scorers. NC State, on the other hand, Ken Palm is the worst NC State team. Wild to me. But they did have a blowout victory over Duke, so you know.
But NC State, though, is really, really good on the boards. They're a really good rebounding team. And I know that while Creighton's very good defensively, I mean, I just feel like NC State
it's your second best offense in the ACC. It's one of the better defenses. And Trequavion Smith can definitely go well. He's supposed to get drafted. Last year. Decided to come back. And they undefeated when he scores over 20. Creighton, on the other hand, they have a really good rim protector inside. I worry about how NC State finds offense. And I know you like this team.
I watched them. Go Creighton in this one. I am a noted Creighton disapprover in the past, and it's usually come back to bite me.
I watched Creighton's last tournament match. It was really ugly. No one could score. Ryan Nemhart, brother of Andrew Nemhart of the Pacers, looked terrible. Trey Alexander bad. But I think overall they have 5 double-digit scorers. Their offense just may be too much for NC State to hold on to.
Absolutely. All right, let's go. Let's go with the Jays on this one. Yeah. So I think Cretan's a good pick on this one. I think that's a good one. All right.
Baylor versus UC Santa Barbara, who I think
Listen,
made an upset last year, right?
I think they did, but I feel like Baylor's a really good tournament team, number one. And I'm not a big UC Santa Barbara guy. I feel like this. Listen, I feel like Baylor is a very good team. The Gauchos are good in their conference, but this one feels a little bit like a little bit of a mismatch.
I mean, they
Listen,
dominated the West. AJ Mitchell looked amazing.
they were 15-5. That's not crazy good. They
I
didn't
mean, I
play
meant
any.
the tournament. This tournament.
Oh,
Which was averaging like 27 a game.
that's true, but they haven't
But
played any top 25 teams. Baylor's 5-5 versus top 25. They're a solid, they're a solid team.
see,
I,
Santa
I'm
Barbara almost upset Green last year, 12 seed.
Yeah, but that was a 12-5. This is a 14-3.
No,
You
yeah,
know,
I'm gonna go with you. I think there is upset potential, but Baylor's shown
I think there
dominance
is
in the
upset potential
defensive
for a
play.
14-3. I just don't think it's this
And
matchup.
Keontae George is just really for a team that Baylor over the past few years has mostly for their defense in the tournament and pushed along with defense.
And,
Keontae
yeah,
George has really provided them an offensive
and
spark that
didn't
they've missed some years.
didn't Baylor appear in the finals last year?
Um, they I think they made it to the Final Four,
Yeah, they were a very good tournament team last year. So
and then they won the year before that.
exactly.
I think the final two, but they might not have made it because St. Peter's made a lead. It was UNC Kansas. Duke lost to UNC. Was it Kansas Baylor? It could
Yes.
have been. I remember the year before it was Baylor Gonzaga. Baylor Gonzaga.
Last year it was.
I think Baylor lost to UNC
Yeah,
as
Baylor
one
must
seed
have been Baylor
in
must
the
have been
second round.
2 years ago. Yeah.
Baylor won 2 years ago. Davion Mitchell over
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs.
Yeah. All right.
I know
All right. That
teams based
sounds
on
good.
prospects.
All right.
Baylor.
Let's move on though. Baylor, I feel pretty comfortable with that, but we'll see. All right. Let's move on to Missouri, Utah State. Um, it's a
Missouri's
tough
not.
one.
I think Missouri. I mean, they have been undefeated outside of Quad One. Haven't been one. I think Utah State is probably one of the strongest 10 seeds I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean they were a very
They're
good team.
they're KenPom 18th ranked. Missouri's KenPom 51st.
Yeah, and by the way, folks, if you're looking to bet on a game, do not bet on this one. Both these teams are minus money right now. Which I think Utah State. I've been picking them more often in my brackets. I think that Missouri probably has a better resume coming in. They're 6-4 versus top 25, and they're 23rd in the AP poll. But I feel like there's something about this Utah State team that's just
Oh yeah, Kobe
really good.
Brown.
They're a really good shooting team.
Um,
They're 11th nationally in 3-point shooting, and I always feel like that's something that when it comes time for March Madness, it's such a big impact on how games turn out.
there's always a 10-7 update in every single tournament ever. There's been a 10-7 since Kobe's upset. There's been a 10-7 upset. Was that 2007? And um, but 10 seed has the most wins over seed history. Utah State is the better team of KenPom in terms of net rank, in terms of quad one record.
Yeah,
Uh,
again,
Missouri sucks on defense. One of the worst teams, especially SEC, one of the worst teams on defense. I think
and
I can give
obviously
set to
it's a
Utah State.
10-7, so it's definitely a toss up. But I think Utah's the better team, and I would expect them to win. All right, finally, let's move on to Arizona versus Princeton. Um, yeah, listen, I'm a big Zona fan. Everyone here
Yeah,
knows that. I don't think we really have to talk about this one too much. Ivy League teams have a very poor
they
history
haven't
of
had they
performing.
haven't had good looks.
So
Generally.
let's
Uh,
pick Arizona and move on. All right.
yeah, I will say Princeton looked a lot better in the second half. Year, they're one of the best rebound teams in the country. Arizona has not had amazing success in the tournament either. Uh,
No, we haven't. The
Courtney
Wildcats have not
Ramey, I
been.
just don't trust.
This is
They
our
barely
year.
have anyone scoring over double digits. Close. They've 15-point per game scorer,
Mhm.
um, and they lost 2 of the last 2 regular season games. So I don't think Arizona's going far. But Princeton, yeah, there's
Yeah,
potential, but
exactly,
it's
exactly.
unlikely.
All right, Alabama, West Virginia. Um, again, I think it comes down to how much faith do you have in Alabama? They're a good team, and Brandon Miller is still in the lineup. He's still playing, and I feel like that really changes this team. And while they've had a lot of stuff, kind of go haywire, and they're not the best team overall, I would say
Yeah,
that we've
Alabama's a
seen.
good basketball team. They're the best team in the country, I think.
Right.
Uh, Miller obviously had his issue with the murder case, but he has been very strong as of late.
Mhm.
He's averaging nearly 20 points per game. He's shooting it way better than anyone expected. Uh, so it's a strong team. Uh, I think they could lose focus. I mean, um,
It's
I think
it's
it's
possible.
tough,
I
but
I do not see it happening against this West Virginia team. I think that they're just a little, again, West Virginia 7-11 in conference versus
I think
Alabama
that's.
16-2.
I do like West Virginia, but yeah,
I
say that
I do too. But I
team.
I I feel like this is not the 9-1 upset. I think we could see an 8-1 upset in another part of this tournament, but I don't think it's gonna be right here. So we gonna pick Bama?
Yep,
All right,
Alabama.
let's roll tide. All right. As we said, before, if San Diego State can get through Charleston, I feel they have a very good shot of making it to the third round of the tournament. And I really do. I think that they're such an underrated team, San Diego State is. And if they do end up playing Furman, I think they have a very good shot at winning. I think if they end
It'd
up
be
playing Virginia, I think
that'd
that
be a
they are going to win
that'd
that.
be a low scoring matchup. Uh,
But Connor, I do think that we
I mean,
see San
it
Diego.
is a similar thing to the Charleston matchup, where it is a team that relies on the three ball, um, scrappy defense, but they don't make it. They do make the 12th most attempts, but they don't shoot it at it with
Yeah, and I think
17th in 150%. So they take a lot, but they don't make a lot. Sure, a team hot like that and shoot the crap out of you, but San Diego State is more fundamental.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's roll San Diego State. All right, Creighton, Baylor, Connor. What's your thought? Because I honestly I don't know anything about either of these teams really. So what's your take on it if this matchup were to happen?
Um, Personally, I think Baylor a um, better team over, but there's a lot of concerns around me. Baylor, I don't trust Keontae George completely. I think their road home road splits are poor. So in a neutral stadium like this, it could come to them. Uh, Adam Flager is also not trustworthy. They don't grab a great amount of rebounds. I think overall Creighton, the offense there may overpower. Creighton does pretty well to win a couple rounds in these tournaments. Their wins over Xavier and Marquette late in the season. That's a 2 seed. two seeds, right?
Yeah, listen, I feel like it's time for me to kind of give the Blue Jays their due, and I feel like this is
But
based on what you're
Baylor
saying.
also, yeah, you won the tournament a couple years ago. They build themselves for this tournament. So
Yeah, I mean,
certainly got to be an upset if we. I think
and
our team.
Baylor's got two guys shooting from over 40% from beyond the 3 point. Like that's crazy. Trey Alexander for the Creighton also shoots 44%. Like, you know, I kind of want to lead Creighton because they're a very good defensive rebounding team.
I mean,
Um,
they're higher ranked KenPom. Um, just the EM is higher. Uh, luck is if so like it's a bit of a luck based team, obviously with the shooting. But adjusted offense is strong. Adjusted defense is decent enough. Their adjusted offense is one of the best. Their adjusted defense is downright terrible. I think when you get a tournament setting, just have similar offense, but Baylor's defense is going to be so much worse.
so
So it's
you
going to
want
be
to
two
roll?
very high-powered offense. I think I got to lean.
All right, let's roll. Let's roll Jays. All right, Utah State, Arizona. Again, listen, I'm definitely biased in this one. I want to pick Arizona, obviously. Um, what's your take, Connor? Does Arizona have a shot at beating
I mean,
Utah State?
yeah, they definitely have a shot. They're the higher-ranked team. On a 10 in KenPom. Just say we mentioned 18th. Arizona State has offenses, a weak defense, but they're pretty close on the defense. Strength of schedule is actually close between the two, which is somewhat surprising. So you could take the fact that they have the same record,
Yeah, and
same strength of schedule. I think Utah State's a really good, but I know you're an Arizona fan. I'll
I gotta
take your
lean
pick.
Arizona, and here's why. Arizona is 6-1 versus top 25. Utah State is 0-2. And I feel like to me, right, Arizona's has tournament experience. And fairly often they'll usually win around 2 rounds and before they, you know, lose at least. I think Utah State, I definitely think if you're going a more aggressive bracket, this is definitely one where I feel, and this is again, as an Arizona fan, you could definitely pick Utah State and be justified. And I could see Utah State winning. I feel like in at least one or two of my brackets, I have Utah State topping Arizona in the second round. But I think it's probably more likely Arizona takes the win on this one. I kind of feel that way. Connor, do you kind of agree with that? I think
Yeah,
the top 25 is kind of the clincher for me. Arizona's great offensively, of course, but the
yeah,
six wins versus
I think that's fair. Completely.
yeah.
Utah State lost the Mountain West Finals to Sweet 16 in San Diego State. I think they've shown some flaws in their Arizona's. Well, both their offenses are very strong and the can sound
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
decent.
and the Rockets have a great front court duo, Tubelis and Balo, or Bayo. I don't know how to pronounce it actually, so apologies there. But they have a very good front court duo, and I think that's gonna push them over the edge at least in this one. All right, Alabama, San Diego State. Connor, I have it going in brackets of mine. I have it going both ways. So what are your thoughts?
Got to be out. These are both schools, but Alabama's in the country.
A little
Alabama's
bit better.
offense, like you're looking at these. Alabama's adjusted offense is third in the country. So you're like, wow, the offense is there, and San Diego State's is 10th, so they're up there. And then the defense is Alabama's still top 20, while San Diego State's down in the 70s.
Right.
Um,
San Diego State's really going to have to run the table, and
eh,
Bama's going to have to have a bad day shooting for this one to come out.
yeah, and Bama isn't
Yeah.
a team that shoots all either. Driving San Diego State and clog the paint decently well. It could give some trouble to these Alabama slashing guards. But I think Alabama's just too strong a team this year. Um, I think they wish JD Davison took another year because he could bring them all the way. Uh, but right now, yeah, better overall. I think it's be for a team San Diego State that has gotten by so far, taking on key offenses that could shoot sheets out and just lock down. You can't do that same
I gotta
against
say, yeah,
Alabama.
I mean, I agree, but don't be surprised if San Diego State comes up big in this
I think
tournament.
there's
All
a
right,
bigger chance that San Diego State loses in the first round than beats Alabama. If I put those two matches, I'd say Charleston is closer to San Diego State than San Diego State is to Alabama to me.
I don't know, man. Some teams are good in turn. All right, let's move on to Creighton, Arizona. Connor, this may surprise you, but I think I'm leaning Creighton on this one. I gotta
Because
be
I would
honest.
have used one of my overturns that you used earlier just to give it. I think Creighton's
I
just
feel
a
like this
better
is
team.
usually where Arizona kind of flops out of the tournament. It's a weak year. And I feel like this is probably a good matchup for Creighton that they'll
Two of the
probably
better offenses in the country. Um, I just think, yeah, I mean Arizona uh, had a surprisingly much easier strength of schedule, which is interesting. But I think overall, I trust Creighton more as a tournament team. I trust them more in terms of just their execution. I think Arizona doesn't quite have the defense to kind of clog them up
and
like
yeah.
Xavier did.
And again, this is the point in the tournament where they usually either lose in the Elite Eight or the round of 16. So I'll be rooting for the Wildcats, obviously, but realistically, I gotta lean Clarion here, and that means Bama Creighton Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. Connor.
I know it sucks to put a one seed in the final
Yeah,
four,
that's what I
but
was gonna
I
say.
just think Alabama's the best
As
team in this tournament.
as
Alabama, maybe
uninteresting
UCLA.
as uninteresting as it may be, I gotta put Bama. I feel like the South of the four is probably the least interesting. I definitely could see the Midwest getting very interesting. The West is very interesting to me. And I think that my craziest I would say of the four is the East though. I think the East is going to be crazy this year. Um, I think the South is probably usually viewed as the tamest of the few. And I think that this year it will be. So that's going to conclude at least the first quarter, quote unquote, of the episode. Connor and I will be back. You won't see any of this, obviously, but there's going to be a lot of time. You'll see in about 5 or 10 seconds, I'll be wearing something completely different. So just keep on watching. All right. It's time for the East. As I said, by the way, we are wearing different clothes. This is another day. I just want a little bit of continuation. All right, let's look at the East. Um, Again, as with Alabama and their first round matchup, Purdue versus either Texas Southern or FDU. I mean, there's really not much to talk about. I think Purdue's gonna go through almost guaranteed. They're a good team. I don't love Purdue year after year. I say, hey, listen, if you're picking Purdue to make your Final Four, you're making a mistake. But I think if you pick them to lose in the first round, generally speaking, you're making a mistake. I think more likely than not, 99% chance that Purdue moves on in this first round. Connor. All right, Memphis, Florida, Atlantic. Now this one has been one that I've I really honestly don't know. I mean, you look at the AP poll, Connor, these two teams are right next to each other, 24 and 25. Their conference ranked 1 and 2. Um, their conference record, obviously, I'd say Florida Atlantic has definitely a little bit of an edge in that and overall record. But it's pretty tight overall. Um, who are you leaning in this matchup? Memphis does have the money line favored in their odds, but I could definitely see a Florida Atlantic upset. Well, not even really an upset, but I could see them coming away and winning this one for sure.
I have Memphis going to the Final Four. It's
So,
FAU's damn
really? So you see this as, I mean in the past, right? 8-9 matchups are super hard to predict because you're generally taking two teams that are ranked fairly close together, and you're putting them head to head. But you see this one as
Andrew
Memphis.
Davis averaged 28 points. FAU is chips. Whoever wins two.
Really? Okay.
All I trust. Coach, I think he's
Mhm.
this year to the last. Uh, FAU has made the is 20
Right. Right.
this with the year. Overall, I just
Yeah, and I think kind of what's going to be a big thing for Memphis, in my opinion, is Alex Lomax, fifth year senior. If he's able to return, like he looked good in the AAC tourney, if he can continue to play the same type of basketball that he played there, I think Memphis is gonna win this matchup versus FAU. And again, as you said, they're gonna have a good shot against Purdue. I hate that Purdue's a one seed. I don't think they ever should be a one seed, because they always lose in the tournament when they never should. So I think the NCAA, Connor, in my opinion, ban Purdue from ever being a one seed ever. They should only allow it to be a 4 seed. That's it, right? Where it's like they're a good team, but they're gonna blow leads, every other year. So Memphis sounds good to me, and we can move on. Now, this is potentially one of my favorite first round matchups in the tournament, Connor. I mean, Duke versus Oral Roberts. Obviously, Oral Roberts last season had a great tournament run. Duke, a very prestigious program, their first tournament without Coach K. They also had a great run last year. They've had great runs in the past. They're a very experienced team. They know what they're doing. This ice, I mean, it's a 5-12 matchup, which I think even ups the stakes a little bit more because, historically, every single March Madness in recent memory, at least one 12 seed has taken down a 5 seed. Um, and obviously, in this bracket, we said that SDSU or San Diego State University would take down Charleston. Obviously, that's definitely not necessarily going to happen, but it very well could. Uh, this is a really tough matchup, I think, for Oral Roberts. I would say this is probably of the 5 seeds out there. This is probably the one team I may not want to play. Duke is just a tough team. They haven't been very good this season, in my opinion. Uh, Again, the ACC is awful. Anyone who tells you it's not doesn't watch basketball, and I don't even watch basketball. So definitely trust me. I would love to pick Oral Roberts here, but I do think that Duke does have the edge. I think that realistically, they're probably going to come away and win this one. Connor, what's your take?
yeah, Duke's strong that season. That I mean, Paul Roberts in the past couple of years signed using 8, but they haven't beat a quad one. You look back and no, sure, you
Right.
with this. team. Filipowski is coming.
By the way, I am a huge Filipowski fan. For just the most obvious reasons that you could ever think of. I mean, the fact that someone's name looks almost so much like mine, I think is so cool. I might have to get a jersey with Filipowski on the back.
You're the guy I had him as from it's but it would have been a late first round here.
All right, so we'll take Duke. All right, Tennessee versus the just Louisiana. So we got the Volunteers versus the Ragin' Cajuns. Um, this has been a matchup that I've seen a lot of people talk about. Hey, I'm taking Louisiana over Tennessee. This is my
Tennessee's not very
right.
uh
Yeah, that's been the almost the consensus 13-4 upset. Obviously, as you guys know, we already took Furman to beat Virginia, but hey, listen, this might be the year of the 13 over the 4 instead of the 12 over the 5, Connor.
Tennessee was really strong. And they ranked number 2 early on, and they've just been also best yell surgery. Lost to Missouri, and a very good. So it's not looking in a lot of that draw. 17. And obviously, this is still a 4-13 matchup, but you have to think it's closer than season.
Right.
Same player, definitely shocked. Still think Tennessee's going to be a favorite. I mean, but there's definitely upset.
I mean, listen, you look at the money line. You can't even bet Louisiana right now. They don't even have a line for them. Tennessee is minus 650. But you do again. Remember last year, Connor? What was it? Oregon State. They won all They won all those games, and I forget which conference. In last year's March Madness bracket, and I believe I had picked them to win at least in the first round. And I feel like this is almost a similar scenario. This time, Louisiana, they won the Sun Belt. They were the second seed in that tournament. They've had a good season. They're not a great team, but it feels like this is going to be a really tight matchup. Connor, it's up to you. I'm willing to go Tennessee if you want to, but I would also be willing to go with.
I'd say we leave it at 1. Perhaps. I already know we're not going to 13. Kick the shit out of but yeah, I'm willing to take Tennessee here. Both expect them to lose to in the next.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Kentucky versus the Friars. This is a matchup, again, another one I'm really excited about. These last one and then the next, well, actually, the middle 4 matchups are ones I'm really excited about. Again, this is another very experienced team, Kentucky. Um, you know, we've never really seen Coach John Calipari of a team. Kentucky's usually been a 1 or a 2 in many years in the past. This year they're a 6. They're only favored by 4.5 points against the Friars. The Friars are a good team, but how good are they? Is this a game that they can legitimately win? I think definitely so. But experience is definitely on the Kentucky side. But I lean Providence in this one. I feel like this is an upset waiting to happen almost. And you look at the Friars' record, they got 4 quad 1 and 3 quad 2 wins, which is very solid. And Kentucky's just faltered this year. They don't feel like the same team.
It's been a huge step back. Providence this season.
That's also true.
They were seed. Really, Providence is coming into. They started for their 5. Kentucky lost to Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament. Also not negative quad 1, 36 and 7. Doesn't happen too much. Don't. Oscar Shibwe is probably the best rounder in all. And Kentucky does not. Providence.
Yeah, I mean,
But
if I may object,
yeah,
I think, you know, here's why at least I may lean Kentucky a little bit. I think picking the Friars, a good pick, great pick, aggressive, but I don't see Kentucky bowing out in the first round 2 years in a row. Obviously, last year they lost to St. Peter's. I feel like there's maybe a little bit of momentum. I think there's a little bit of you know, hey, we got to go out there and prove ourselves. We blew it last year. I think that's got to at least be weighing on the players' minds. At least John Calipari.
I do like Providence up here. I think having your 2 best players be slash this can really help in your paint back and getting way in trouble, which we've seen. But once he's probably you just really rough spot for that.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a chance Shibwe goes and gets 14, 15 downs, including 6 offensive, dominates. It really is a game. I'm going to take a Providence upset here. Providence.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can see this one going either way. I could listen, in some brackets I have Kentucky winning this one and winning another one. In some I have the Friars winning this one and winning another one. I really can see it going either way. You know what? It's up to you, Connor. I'm willing to go either way on this one. I think it's 50-50.
We haven't taken an upset here in this bracket. Time to go for.
All right. The last matchup I'm really excited about, at least in the first round. You got the Jackrabbits versus Kansas State. And I think Montana State's a super fun team. They were a super fun team in the tournament last year. I think they're going to be a super fun team in the tournament this year. Danny Sprinkle, by the way, what a name. I mean, I would love to have a coach named Danny Sprinkle. That sounds like a guy from like a kid's cartoon who, I don't know, fixes toys or something. I don't even know. Like it's such a good name. Pixar, pick that name up. Fantastic name. I really do like Montana State. They're a good tournament team. Kansas State, this is their first time, I believe, being ranked this high in at least a little while. Keontae Johnson, super good player. Obviously, he's the guy who collapsed.
Yeah, what a comeback story.
By the way, yeah, great comeback story. Connor, he probably could end up getting drafted this season. It's possible. Well, we'll see what happens with that. He's been averaging 17 points a game and 7 rebounds a game. This is a good matchup because I feel like Kansas State, you look at their side of the bracket, it's, in my opinion, it's really not that strong. Those 8 teams, I'm not a lover of Marquette. Michigan State's a decent team. Kentucky or Providence, I mean, those are good teams, but I think if Kansas State or Montana State, for all intents and purposes, can win this matchup, it definitely can lead to more in this tournament. Connor, what's your take on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to root for Kansas State to make 6%. I had no idea if it was.
Right.
I think State is. It's a tournament. I kind of liked what
Me too.
great, but over State, well, fun team.
Yeah, I will say this betting wise. I mean, listen, for what it's worth, they're plus 300. I do feel like they have a shot. I feel like that's at least a decent line. So if you're willing to, if you're willing to lose some money, I feel like this is probably one of the better, at least, um, matchups in terms of that. But I think Kansas State, as fun as Montana State is, and I have picked Montana State in some of my brackets, but again, in most of them, I've been rolling with Kansas State. I think they are a legitimate team who has a chance to win it all this year. I believe in them. I really do. So we'll go Kansas State. All right, USC Michigan. Um, for me, I, I'm heavily rooting and picking Michigan. Um,
Michigan State.
I think Tom Izzo is a great coach. They have 6 wins in both quad one and quad two. They have 3 returning players. They're a good team. I know they haven't had a great season. They're 11-8 in the conference.
They are stupidly inconsistent. That team could either be Tyson Walker, Joey House, or they could combine 20.
Right, right, and that's why they're ranked as a 7 seed, right? So what's your take on USC? I mean, the line between these two teams is pretty close. It's a 1.5
in
bucket spread.
simulations, it's a 50. Michigan State. I think this matchup favors you. They got a good in their matchup for sure. Really is. But I think you can bring it down to coaching, and
That's what I've been thinking, right? Like,
Izzo would try to find a good way.
right.
A lot of yells, I think, effectively.
It's almost for me. I know this is going to be a tight game, but I feel like final 5 minutes, game's tied or whatever, and I'm going to pick a coach. Like, I think if I need players to start players, I think those guys are on Michigan. If I need a great coach, I think that guy's on Michigan State as well. Who are you leaning down?
It's definitely split bracket. Where I have a stronger team. But if I were to pick a team more often, I think this is a team that come in rested, of course, get their shots off. I think USC, big fan of Boogie Ellis. It's the top team. Yes, who can really focus on.
All right, Michigan State. Let's roll it. And then we'll pick Marquette. I don't think we have to go too much into this one. Marquette is a very good team, um, but Vermont. I think again this is probably not the 15-2 seed that I would pick to see an upset. I think is probably the strongest team, arguably, of the three. So, or of the four, excuse me. So we'll go with Marquette.
Marquette's a fun. Want to watch just good basketball? That I think Vermont definitely, but that is one of the better scoring. This isn't great, but over 2 points. So I think they offense.
All right, let's talk Purdue Memphis, right? You already alluded to it. You might pick Memphis in this matchup.
I just think they're a better team. I trust Purdue.
Oh, let's do it. I hate picking Purdue. It's the worst thing that can happen to a person. Let's pick Memphis. Enough said. Enough said. Purdue, to me, is one of those teams that constantly, tournament after tournament after tournament. I've already said this, so I sound like a broken record. Tournament after tournament after tournament for Purdue, it's like the same stuff over and over and over again. Where every year they lose a game that on paper you think, oh, 1-8. That should be a win for Purdue. And it's not.
I think
personally,
the dominating in Mushman, not much.
yeah,
Years you see kind of short stuff, high rebound center, really guys like Luka, these guys just don't work in turn.
yeah. I mean, listen, Luke Garza, bro, he disappeared for Iowa. Absolutely disappeared in that tournament.
It's just
all right,
it's just one of those things that don't work that well.
Duke, Tennessee. You view Tennessee as a very weak team.
Yeah, I don't love Duke whatsoever, but they're just fundamentally better than missing their best player. I just can't.
And listen, as bad as the ACC is, which it is, and I'm not saying Duke's an elite team, but Duke's still a very good school in terms of basketball talent that comes through it, and there's still a lot of very good players there. And I think the year after your coach, with arguably one of the best coaches in NCAA history, leaves, it's always going to be tough to kind of find a new voice, a new leadership, new way to do things in the locker room. It's just tough, right? Because as much as a guy might say, "Oh, I'm gonna do everything like Coach K, I'm gonna be exact," there are gonna be certain things that's just gonna be different. The way he talks to the players, the way he dresses just things are different. Right? You can't ever replicate one guy with another. And I think that's why we saw a more inconsistent Duke this season. But I feel like tournament time is a time where they shine. They don't have to play UNC at all this year, so they're gonna be fine. Let's roll Duke. All right, Providence versus Kansas State. I heavily lean Kansas State in this matchup, Connor. Heavily.
Yeah, I can agree. I just think Kansas State strong team. Obviously, no experience in that. Rallying behind it. Definitely good motivation. So he.
Yeah, and
it's a fun team to root.
If you've watched the Friars this season, they've been like a wave. I mean, that's in college basketball this year, though. It's been up and down across the board. And I think Kansas State's one of those few teams where they're a little bit more reliable. Let's pick them. All right, and then Marquette, Michigan State. Again, I think we're going with Marquette here.
I just think Marquette's a better team. Yeah. Michigan State also very. State shoots it incredibly well. What happened? season. But Marquette just has
Right. And
offense.
by the way, folks, this is the nature of the NCAA tournament. All these teams are, especially this year, are fairly close in level. I mean, once you get to the second round, you got a 7 versus a 2. The game is going to be relatively good, especially again this year, where there aren't really that many teams who separate themselves that
No,
much.
there's no dom. There's no team. The Gonzaga.
And again, that's coming into the tournament, right? Some team in the tournament could pop up and be absolutely crazy. It's possible. But coming into the tournament as of right now, went Tuesday, March 14th, no team looks to me like, hey, this team is the clear favorite. These 4 teams are the teams that I would pick 90% of the time to finish in that Final Four. They are just the best teams. I don't see that this year, but I do see Marquette taking this one home. All right, so that leaves us in the Sweet 16 with a Memphis Duke matchup. Connor, I think experience, I think leadership, and I think pride, I think is going to give Duke this win here.
Momentum, really.
Right.
Strong.
And also, oftentimes, at least it feels this way, teams who beat the 1 seed, that next round often lose, I think. Like there's not a big history of a team beating a 1 seed and then going on to win after that, because it's very hard, right? You're beating a team that's like you're big upset, but now the expectations have totally changed. The view of your team has totally changed. You've gone from a huge underdog to a team that, listen, you just beat a 1 seed, you just beat a 2 seed or 3 seed, completely changes the mentality and the narrative. And I think if Memphis and Duke end up playing each other, Memphis is going to be a little bit all over the place. You just beat number 1 seed Purdue. The way you handle that, I think, is going to be very hard for a young team like Memphis, a team that, again, doesn't have a lot of tournament experience. I'm willing to roll Duke, Connor, if that's what you're willing to do.
Good to me.
All right, and then this is probably the marquee matchup. Kansas State, Marquette, Connor. I'm feeling like you're probably going to want to pick Marquette in this one. But walk us through why.
I'm really willing to go either. Marquette. Pushing off. Kansas State, solid enough offense, but Big 12's pretty weak. Iowa State, Big 12's ranked over the some road up to here, getting to a team that was just been one of the better offenses in college basketball.
That's kind of what I've been thinking too. And I have picked Kansas State again, but Marquette seems to me to be a team that, after beating Michigan State, I feel like they're gonna be, if they can end up doing that, I feel like they're gonna show what type of team they're. Let's roll Marquette, and that will leave Duke, versus Marquette.
I'm willing to push Duke to the Final Four. I'm
a little hesitant, man. I think this is where Duke's limitations in terms of the teams that they've had to play this season and slightly their inconsistency, I think, comes to sweep the rug out from under them. I've watched the ACC this year. It's bad, all right? Syracuse is not a good team, all right? And the fact that Syracuse was a middling team, it tells me everything, right? Boston College is not a good team. Virginia is not a good basketball team. I don't like the ACC. Personally, I see it as, the ACC is a lot of prestige, but UNC didn't make the tournament this year, folks. Pitt's probably going to make the tournament if they beat Mississippi State tonight. But, Pitt's good. They're not a great team. And I think that, for me, we're riding all this momentum for the ACC tournament. but you look at the schedule that Duke will have, Oral Roberts, Tennessee, Memphis, good teams, but I think Marquette may have a little bit more to their basketball game than those teams. I think it's just a different level. I'm thinking Marquette.
Has Marquette, the last time Marquette, when's the last time they got to the last time? Final Four, last time in the Final Four was 2000.
Year I was born, baby.
Shaka Smart, amazing coach. But they don't quite have players. That's a thing that has consistently come up big. Is like I lean so much sheer when it comes.
Right. In big matchups, right? I can see how, in this matchup, Duke's big players. I mean, again, they went far last year. They're gonna know what to do in this situation. I think we can go Duke. If
maybe I'm being tricked by Duke's kind of streak. But it looked like when they finally got healthy, they haven't been healthy all year, don't get me wrong. When they finally got everyone healthy, it looked like everything was clicking.
All right, let's go Duke then. Let's go Duke.
Duke play Alabama.
All right. Time to talk about the Midwest. What I think is going to be the absolute crapshoot, whatever section of the bracket. Let's start off with Houston versus Northern Kentucky. If there is one 16 seed to win this year, it's gonna be Northern Kentucky. Houston, everyone knows they don't deserve to be where they are. Everyone knows.
But it's still a 16-1. Thank you.
That's pretty much it. All right. Iowa, Auburn. Connor, you've talked about this at length with me. You're a big Iowa guy in this tournament. You see them as certain fate.
Chris Murray has completely exceeded my. There's some games where you just Caffrey brothers are really bound. They are third in the offensive. Just saw 5 players digits. We just saw them solid throughout the that this time through. Chris Murray's not as good overall as Keegan Murray, but the jumper's still there. Still going to be a strong player, 20-point scorer.
Now, Connor, let me ask you. Sorry to interrupt. I'm looking at the Bet MGM. Auburn is the favorite team. Why are they favored over Iowa?
I think it's just due to Auburn being like their defense is strong. They were the 2 seed. They were a 2 seed last year. They got a high transfer in Johnny Boom. This is a team that, just higher in Ken Conley. Aggressive, they force overs, they shots. And that's kind of those things that, not a very good tempo ranking at all. Not a very good record against Quad 1 schools, all 3-10. But also, SEC is more highly touted at this point. See Auburn if
we are picking Iowa, aren't we?
Yeah, it's really close. Simulation, Auburn, predictive significance. As of better in performance, a lot better. And you kind of see these games as when you see a team with a better away record, that probably means they're better at neutral. When you see a team, they're probably worse at
Right,
neutral.
they're probably exactly. No, I
So
completely
so Iowa being a lot better away, I just have to lean Iowa for me.
All right, let's roll. I don't know. They're the Hawks, but I don't know what Hawks they are. Okay.
Hawkeyes.
All right. Now I know I've gone on a couple diatribes about how bad the ACC is, but and I'll say this. I'm gonna preface everything I'm about to say with this. Miami is either a team that will lose in the first round or make it to the Elite Eight, and there is no in between in my eyes. I see them as boom or bust. I like Miami. They're a cool team. They're a fun team, but I could also see them getting their brakes blown off by Drake.
Drake is a team.
Like I think Miami, if they play the Hoosiers in the second round, forget about it. If they play Iowa or Houston, forget about it. But I think they could also lose in the first round. Connor, what's your thoughts on Miami?
Yeah, Drake 1-1 against Quad One. They had lost Quad Three. Their tricks. They definitely have a team. I believe they're the oldest to ever player age. 3 graduate students in their starting lineup,
That's crazy.
which is kind of funny. Miami had ACC Player of the Year in Isaiah Wong, but he just didn't look good. Tournament. Wake Forest almost beat. I think.
And Syracuse
Yeah.
almost beat Wake Forest. That should tell you.
I mean, they lost to Georgia Tech. They lost to FSU, who was downright horrible season. 15-5 in conference play, but it was a weak conference. 5-5 Quad One, lost Quad 3 4 game. Isaiah Wong's just not a guy I can necessarily trust come turn time. So I don't think Miami, Indiana, Boise, but I can't see if they do win this game. I can't see Miami 32, and I'm willing to go Miami if you like Miami here. But if you're pushing Miami over back,
We can do Miami
It's
here, but
no-
I'll give you an Indiana win over Miami there.
first we can talk about Indiana Kent State.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like Kent State. I mean, they don't move the needle for me. They're not exciting. I'm like, listen, the Hoosiers, they're a fun team. They're the Hoosiers. Indiana basketball is huge. It's very it's just a big thing in the state of Indiana, I think. And the Hoosiers are just a fun team. I like them. I think they're a bit underrated for sure. And I'm probably part of that because I'm picking Miami over them in some of my brackets. But I like Indiana. Kent State. Sorry, folks, it's not your year. Um, oh
Kent
well.
State have won 6 in a row. Year with seniors and Trace Jackson Davis at basketball is out. Jalen Hood has played actually lottery buzz. I think they if teams hyper focus on Jackson Davis, a lot of in some games. The overall team, I mean, the Jackson Davis, Hood Shafino, double dash, hyphenated name, pick and roll between those two has been this year. Penn State, no quad one wins. defense is solid, but their offense, I just going to get. Whether they can stop Trace Jackson Davis or not, it doesn't really matter to me. Because if you spend all your energy stopping Trace Jackson Davis, I still think the other guy will beat Kent State. If not, Jackson Davis is going to go off. I don't see where Indiana loses.
Ditto. All right. Iowa State versus, I think what's going to be Pitt.
Game starts in like an hour.
You hate Iowa State.
I just don't think they're good. I just don't think Iowa State's very good. They
had a bad finish.
Yeah.
Right? Like 9-9 in the conference is really.
They're 19-13 in the Big 12. The defense is solid. They hold the opposing like they have the hardest schedule against them. Really proves them to be. I just don't think it's a team that is very good overall. I don't know how they got a 6 seed. Personally, I mean that Baylor upset was really big for them. Say, but Kansas killed these. And no one looked good in that. Sure, you have 2 wins over Baylor on this, but the only thing you up, and I don't know if Baylor is. They were able to lock down Keontae George. So they both the matchup. Keontae George. And there's some good things, but guys, Jones on 18. But I think this 11 seed should be already going to have 4 games. Iowa State's never done well in terms of play.
Nope.
I personally think either team comes out in shot.
I like it. Let's go Mississippi or Pitt. I don't care which.
I think Pitt will probably win. They match it better against State. I don't think Mississippi State can be. I'm just not.
All right, Xavier versus Kennesaw State. Connor, Kennesaw State, I feel like very similar to Kent State, so much that they share the first 3 letters.
Kennesaw State is Western. I don't think a Sun turn. Xavier has shown well. They're not a team. Sure. I don't think they're an echelon of teams, but against worse competition, they've shown to be pretty strong. I think Xavier can definitely run away. That's strong. I mean, it's a 11.5.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm about to say. 11.5 point spread.
Xavier is the second highest scoring team in basketball behind. I just can't. The world. It can't.
All right, let's roll Xavier. All right, A&M, Penn State, Connor.
Fun one.
For sure. Who do you like?
It's difficult because Jalen Pickett is almost averaging a triple. Both of them played strong basketball. Texas A&M was a lot stronger than expected. They played really well. SEC. They also have 2 quad 4 losses. they hold their defense was probably the best defense, and it was. But in non-conference play, they were not a good basketball.
Here's what I don't like. Here's what I don't like about A&M, and here's what I think is a huge part of college basketball in the tournament. A&M is a horrible three-point shooting team. Horrible, 250th in the nation. And I think that for me is the biggest difference why I lean Penn State more often. I think when it comes down to it, Penn State's been very good recently. So has A&M, but Penn State and its offense have been so good. I think that's probably going to be just enough for me, at least.
The former Celtics head coach of Penn State here. The Celtics assistant got put.
Stop believing.
But yeah, Penn State thing stretch. A&M obviously an amazing team, but you occupy yourself with Pickett, who's so good. They just leave guys that have shot it so much better recently than earlier in the season open.
Are you willing to go Penn? Are you willing to go Penn State?
I'm all over Texas A&M. I think they're a better basketball team.
Really?
But if you like Penn State, you can use your.
I mean, listen.
I'm just talking about the scenarios where Penn State can win just shooting the ball very well.
Now, all right. Listen,
A&M, I lean them.
I know it seems like Connor and I know the exact same amount of college basketball, but I'm joking, of course. Connor knows way more than me. Connor, I'm gonna lean a little bit towards your expertise here. I'm
a 15-3 SEC record.
That's true.
That is really strong.
Yeah.
You know, and Buzz Williams has shown apt to coach.
All right, and then Texas versus Colgate.
This might be the biggest blowout of the.
Yeah, Colgate's always a team that makes it because they always win the Patriot League. Shout out to Zach Light, former Colgate player on the men's basketball team. It's pretty cool that you know a player who made it to the NCAA tournament. Never won. I'm around though.
It's just
and his brother is now going to Texas, so it's a big matchup for the family.
Colgate almost lost a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, unless Colgate's shooting 55% from the 3-point range, Texas is gonna win this game.
I think this might be the biggest.
Hey, let's go Texas, baby. Let's go Longhorns. All right.
Okay.
Iowa, Houston. Now, Connor, you've discussed picking Iowa over Houston.
I'm good to go. I don't think Houston's very good. I know they're supposed to. They're the number one ranked team.
I'm willing to pick Houston here to win, Indiana to win against Miami, and then beat Houston.
I'm willing to go against you on both of those and go Iowa, Indiana in the Sweet 16. I don't think Miami beats Indiana.
I said Houston, Indiana. Sorry, I meant Houston, Indiana with Indiana winning.
I just think Houston's a better basketball team.
I know, but I mean that means you're picking 2 8 seeds to pick 2 8 seeds to beat a 1 seed.
Houston's just weak.
I mean, I agree, but I don't know if we can publish a bracket, Connor, where we put 2 8 seeds beating 1 seeds. I mean, that would be crazy.
I watched that Houston-Memphis game, and nothing Houston did made me think that they're a good basketball.
Are you gonna? All right.
I watched Memphis kill this team, top to bottom, kill this team.
If you want to use your override, just say, "Listen, Mike, this is what we're doing." Say it. Tell me.
Yeah, I'll go Iowa. I just think. I mean.
All right, folks. As much as it may seem like we've been going chalk, hell no. 2 8 seeds beating 1 seed so far. We'll see if we get a third. I don't know about that though. We already talked about it. We'll go Indiana over Miami. I think I'm willing to go Xavier over Pitt or Mississippi.
Xavier's a solid.
And then I
this is
like
a fun game. Texas versus A&M is a
Texas versus Texas A&M. I mean, we're talking Lone Star State duel. I just think, for me personally, Texas has got a little bit more in the tank.
Yeah, I think
They're
the
my
Big
favorite
12.
team
The
in
Big 12
this.
is just better than the S. Big 12 is probably your best conference. And because of that, I'm willing to go Texas. I think it could be definitely fun.
Listen, it's going to be a battle in the state of Texas. Right? You're going to have two factions. You're going to have A&M fans and Longhorn fans. Right? It's going to be a big day for the state of Texas if that ends up happening. All right, Indiana, Iowa, Connor. I think we're going to go Hoosiers on this one, aren't we?
I'm fine with that.
And then Hoosiers, again, we talked about it earlier. Xavier beats the bad teams, but against some of the better teams.
Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns, baby. And then, all right, Indiana, Longhorns.
I'm gonna go Texas.
I'm willing to go Texas too. All right.
I just think Texas is a strong basketball. I just think it's one of the better teams. I mean, I'm shocked that they get a one. That TCU loss was rough, but they beat Kansas. Stretch solid when they killed Kansas to win the Big 12. Well, as beat flicking as of late. Good winning TCU. Comeback win against TCU. Lost to them kind of towards the end of the regular season. And then Dylan Mitchell or something. Someone got hurt in that game. Dylan DeSue came back in the ACC. Killed Kansas. Just looked like one of the best teams in basketball.
Hey, let's go Longhorns, baby.
So yeah.
All right, let's move on to the West. All right, let's talk about the West. Listen, all right, I think the South is kind of, more prototypical. The East is, I think you got your top and your bottom. As I said, the Midwest, just a crapshoot, I think, honestly. The West, somewhere in the middle of all of those. I think we got a little bit of everything in this one. Let's start off with Kansas versus Howard. Listen, I'm not a lover of Kansas, but I think I'd be pretty silly if I picked them to lose. It's a 116. I think enough said, right?
Yep.
All right. Arkansas versus Illinois.
This one's
we got the Razorbacks versus the Fighting Illini. Connor, what do you like here?
I think it's okay. And the is both of them potentially top 10 after Smith coming back. Yell, Black. That is going to be good. Playoffs. Burn. Same punch. Real dominant.
Yep.
Last year.
And, listen, this is all tough for, a guy who was born Chicago, Illinois to hear. But, realistically, we gotta pick based off of what we know.
We're not gonna do it here because we can't have three. But I have Arkansas in the Final Four number of my. I think Arkansas is one of the better 8 seeds I've ever seen.
Can you imagine if we had 3 8 seeds?
But Kansas is just a strong back.
All right,
and we'll get to
let's talk about St. Mary's versus, I think, my least favorite tournament team ever, VCU, and I will tell you why.
Yeah, we're not going to have a 12 seed. Are we? You want to go have Drake beat Indiana, because we're not picking you to be the same age.
Oh God, no. I mean, all right, hold on. Let's get through this, and then we can go back and we'll.
I'm gonna put
address-
Drake to beat Miami because that feels like the 12 seed we were most opt to pick. I like San Diego State too much.
I really like San Diego State.
Duke's not losing to
And
Roberts.
Duke's in the Final Four.
So yeah, we're picking Drake over Miami.
Why VCU is my least favorite team? Connor, do you want to take a guess why?
Why is VCU your favorite?
My least favorite team in the tournament.
Maybe because they have.
No, I dislike them for this, and it's, it was either last year or the year before. The tournament was about to get underway. I picked VCU to win in the first round, an upset, 10-7. Their team got COVID and pulled out, and I didn't get that pick back. So I'm not picking VCU again, because you know what? They didn't even play the game, and I still lost. All right. Beyond the fact that VCU is just not a good fit basketball team, and St. Mary's, St. Mary's is a very underrated team, flying under the radar. I think.
VCU have not played a team in March Madness since November, and that's when they narrowly beat Kennesaw State.
Ooh, big win!
VCU lost to Memphis early in the season, lost to Pittsburgh, lost to ASU. Memphis, I think, only quad one held in that game. And sure, they're coming in strong, but against no good team.
They are a super weak 12 seed, I think.
Yeah. The 12 seeds this year are just weak overall. I know Oral Roberts is a fan favorite. I think Charleston definitely has a good shot. But, like,
I'm just an
ECU and putting Oral Roberts against Duke, it might be the year that a 12 seed does it.
That's why we basically, up until this point, didn't have one. We obviously had to rectify that because you can't put a March Madness bracket out there without having a 12 beating a 5. But, all right, let's pick St. Mary's. Let's not talk about it. All right, Connor, you've been waiting for this one for a while, all right?
Unfortunately for Rick Pitino, Larry Bird's not walking through that door. Robert Parrish is not walking through that door to help this Iona team. And that's why the fans suck and the city suck. Because Iona's not beating UConn.
UConn Huskies, let's go, baby. Connecticut.
Pitino, worst coach I've ever seen.
And by the way, UConn's a great team.
Oh yeah, UConn's UConn is fourth in KenPom. They've been dominant.
And we're not picking Iona to win. All right, like it's just
yeah. Big East, good looking. Iona Gales have the worst coach in the tournament. One was I think UConn's a 9.5 point favorite, which is a lot for a 4-13.
Yeah.
Iona, no wins against quad 1 or quad 2 team. No wins against either. God forbid how this team made the freaking. Thank God they're in the Metro Atlantic. See ya, buddy.
All right, let's talk about TCU versus Arizona State or Nevada.
I think it's got to be Arizona State.
You think?
To me, I think Arizona State's been good as of.
Yeah, I really, I think the Horned Frogs, they had their experience being a good team when their football team got blown out in the College Football National Championship. They lost a lot of people a lot of money, and I think they will continue to do that on the first day of March Madness.
I'm going to take TCU to win this matchup. I meant in the 11th.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think Nevada's pretty solid. ASU, I think TCU beats. Yeah, I liked the Horned Frogs a lot, and a lot of people are picking this upset.
I am,
but I think TCU's just better basketball team. They beat Texas. They smoked Kansas State in the first round of of the Big 12, and this is a Kansas State team that we've been talking so highly about. They smoked them in the Big 12. I think TCU's a very strong 6 seed.
All right.
I think TCU has a chance to even beat Gonzaga in the next round.
Yeah, so we're not picking Grand Canyon.
I don't know much about Grand Canyon. I think they made
actually,
the
I'm on Yahoo right now. They don't even have any notes.
Grand Canyon. Let's see. They were the 5 seed heading into the Western Athletic Tournament. They took down 4 seed Seattle, 1 seed Sam Houston, and seed Southern Utah.
Never heard of any of those teams.
Out in KenPom, let me look where they are. KenPom rank.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Let me
Grand
pull up the
Canyon is
KenPom rank.
11-7 in conference against Gonzaga, a very, very good team.
And now 109th in KenPom, which is
That's pretty
than I
good.
expected. Gonzaga, they win rounds in the tournament. Gonzaga's not going to be a first. Much as I don't love Gonzaga, Drew Timme's still there. Drew Timme's solid. They have the #1 adjusted offense in the country. It's just a good basketball team. Gonzaga TCU would be an amazing matchup, but Gonzaga's not losing.
All right, Northwestern, Boise State, Connor. This is a good one, I think.
I think this is the most picked upset of the tournament. Quote me, but I believe Boise State to win.
Really?
Northwestern 42nd in KenPom, Boise State 31st. Northwestern much better quad 1 record, but late. Chris Collins, the coach. Boise State here, but they haven't really won in the tournament. Leon Rice, I think, coach. Max Rice, his son, has here.
Mm-hmm.
Straight season with Gonzaga for a while, so he knows what coach of the tournament. 2 defensive teams. Boise State has held opponents 30% this season. I think Boise State can really. I mean, Boo Buie is not trusting the kid to go on. 13th and 14th. Boise State has had some bad losses. Definitely think that could be a.
Yeah, Northwestern, I'm not feeling it. Boise State.
If this game comes down to the end, I think in the club, Chris Collins has extremely well. He's really amazing. Executed at a high level down the stretch, but I think Boise State would just think it down to the Boise State in late game in the match, which is rough. Yeah, if this comes down to the taken down. But I just have to lean State overall. I think that defense, if they can shut down Buie, I don't know a single other Northwestern.
All right. Let's just, I guess, reference UCLA versus NC Asheville.
UCLA is strong.
Yeah. All right.
Best of the
so
pack.
UCLA?
We'll go in UCLA.
All right.
Up to Kansas, Arkansas.
I mean, listen, I think it could be a fun upset, definitely to pick. Connor, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of willing to do it. I don't, honestly.
You want to go 3 8 seeds?
I mean, you gotta, listen, fortune favors the bold. If you seem to really like the Razorbacks, and you just seem to not so much like Kansas.
I like Kansas. I'm a fan of Kansas so far this season. I just think Arkansas is coming into this team as one of the best teams in the tournament.
All right, you know what?
Kansas is as well. Don't get me wrong. I think Kansas is very strong. They always show well in the tournament.
I want to.
But that loss to Texas, both those last two losses to Texas by 16 points and then 20 points, just turned me off so much. That scares me.
They're good in the tournament though. They're usually good in the first 3 rounds to win. Though.
Yes, they are.
All right, let's pick Kansas. I like Arkansas. I think they're a fun team as well. But Kansas is unlike Purdue in that when it comes down to you need baskets, you need buckets, you need to win. Kansas usually pulls it off. I mean, they usually get it done. So we'll go with Kansas here. All right, let's talk about the St. Mary's Gales versus the UConn Huskies.
UConn, man.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's just UConn's got that look in them like they did when they won however many years ago, 10 years ago.
Right, that's what I've been thinking too.
It's just a fun basketball team. Really soft. Just beat
right,
the
Connor.
team goes bum. They're gonna keep it rolling.
All right, TCU Gonzaga.
I'm a big TCU fan.
I think this is a TCU. Gonzaga always disappoints me, and I always have them going far.
But do they disappoint this early?
Always.
I mean, I've had Gonzaga to win the tournament, though. Perfectly can.
And did they win the tournament the past 2 years?
Well, they should have in that Baylor
They
final.
should have, and guess what? They should beat TCU.
That's not really a good argument. TCU it has been strong down the stretch. I like TCU. Definitely flipping back and forth. But Gonzaga is the number one adjusted offense in college. Well, Drew Timme, who's stopping Drew Timme?
You want to roll with the 1, 2, 3, 4?
I'm down to roll with the 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, one of them has to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then I do agree that I'll go UCLA over State. UCLA is just too strong a team. Like Northwestern and Boise State.
Kansas, UConn.
It's tough for me to go UConn.
That's a really tough one. It's tough because you want to pick UConn because
your
heart wants to pick UConn, but your head tells you, oh man, it's Kansas though.
They haven't played for like 7, 8. This West bracket is so freaking good. There's so many good teams. As much as I'd like to pick UConn.
Right, this is almost like you want UConn to win, but your brain is telling you
Kansas is so.
And they also won it all last year. Like, let's not pretend that they weren't. Listen, they came in.
There is to note that UConn is higher ranked.
But here's the thing, right? Was anyone super hype about Kansas last year in the bracket?
Yes.
Yes, but not that much, right? They were.
I think they were close to the favorite.
Gonzaga was definitely the favorite.
Not after the loss to U.
I think we should go. I want to go Kansas and UCLA.
You don't even want to debate the Gonzaga UCLA.
We can debate it. I really like UCLA. I have them winning. I have 20 brackets. I have them winning 4 of them.
You want to go UCLA over Kansas?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I have it as most.
Two.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
All right. Do you need to stop or?
Let's get this towards the middle.
Final 4 teams. All right. Let's talk about Duke, Alabama, and Connor almost just committed sacrilegious.
I'm willing to go Alabama. To be honest, talking about both these.
This is where I think Alabama having the talent they are. I would say.
Oh, if you're talking about talent, Duke has more talent.
Really,
Duke has more talent by far.
Alabama's the better team.
Alabama's the better team, and that's when it comes.
And isn't there something where it's every year that one seed usually makes the final? Like, isn't that
probably?
Yeah, like usually at least 1 seed.
Yeah, I'm willing to have Al. On the other side,
I think it's Texas, man. I think
it might be hook 'em horns.
I think it's hook 'em all the way,
I
baby.
really,
That's what I'm thinking.
I after the first 2 weeks of the college basketball season, I think I tweeted like Texas might win the whole. And
I
they've
think it's
definitely
hook
been
'em,
my
baby.
pick in a few of these.
I think we're going hook 'em, Connor, aren't we?
I'm
Hook
willing.
'em over Bama.
Want to take
Can we take? I mean, what do you want to do?
Texas to win?
They got, I mean, do you think Bama's gonna? I don't think a 1 seed's gonna win it this year. I just don't feel like they got the. I don't think they got the gas. It's tough,
I mean,
bro.
new
It's tough.
coach. It's crazy that if we pick Shaka Smart is finally gone, and it's just so weird to me.
I know, but
They haven't even made it out of the second round for like 20 years. So tough for me.
I know, but can you pick Bama though? I mean, they're good, but they're not like good. And I feel like, I mean, I don't know, but Bama's gonna be off that Duke loss, but I mean, Texas is gonna be off on the UCLA. Well, I mean, that's crazy.
I'm willing to go Alabama. I think Bama is to be maybe the strongest.
You want to roll tide?
They
You want to roll tide?
they destroyed the SEC tournament.
That's true.
They've just been dominant.
But it's coming.
The only team that pushed them freaking close was Arkansas, who you wanted gone to Kansas anyways. No? In a lot of my tournaments, I have Arkansas over Alabama, but Texas, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can pick Texas to beat it.
All right. Well, to be perfectly clear, I have both of these teams winning multiple brackets of mine. So, I mean, it's gonna be tough. I feel like Bama's probably like. All right, if we're talking, you know, we don't know which of these teams is gonna win it, but which of these teams is more likely to make it farther in the tournament? Probably Bama, right? I would say Bama's probably more likely to make it to the Final Four than Texas is. So if you're trying to like, you know, bet on the team that's more likely to make it to the finals, I'd probably say Bama. So we'll go Bama. Roll Tide.
What do you want the score to be?
I don't know. Let's go 70 to 60.
Bama scores like 8.
80. Let's go 77 to 72.
Okay.
All right, folks. There you have it.
Now, Alabama has been great in football as of late. Shout out J.D. Davison at the Celtics.
Roll
We're
Tide,
picking
baby.
Alabama to win in
Roll
basketball.
Tide.
You know, people would be pissed off with that. Alabama's finally not that good in football. Then it's just they win
Then
much
they
more.
win the national championship. Hey, listen, man. Roll Tide. Roll Tide. All right. Folks, that was it. Obviously, Connor and I are going to be perfect in this bracket. So if you do exactly what we did, you should be great. This is exactly what's going to happen. And that's it. There's no other debate that needs to be happening. More seriously, though, obviously, Connor and I, this is predictions. This is what we think is going to happen. In 100% probability, this is not exactly what's going to happen. Hopefully, we're getting somewhat close. But the thing about March Madness that's unique as relative to other sporting events is that every single year there are multiple games and multiple rounds that everyone's like, how did this team beat that team? As much as logic can play into it, and that's what we tried to use, sometimes it's just one team comes out and they're like, where did you come from? St. Peter's did it last year, the Peacocks. And we're like, what? Like,
Shout out to
no
the
one knew
Peacock.
what happened. So let's leave it at that. thank you all for listening. Hopefully, you do well in your March Madness bracket tournaments. And roll Tide, baby, roll Tide.